"I need the money by tomorrow morning," my daughter Hope demanded, handing me what looked like legal documents for her husband Roger's $8 million debt. "And don't forget, cash only," Roger added, with that arrogant smirk I had come to despise. I simply nodded, of course. 6 hours later, I was at the John F. Kennedy International Airport. When they arrived to collect their money, they found only a locked door and a small package waiting. Opening it, the truth hit them like a lightning bolt. Betrayal, consequence, justice. The story begins now. Please subscribe to Grandfather's Advice and write in the comments what time it is where you are watching this right now. The doorbell rang 3 times in quick succession, each ring more impatient than the last. I set down my aged tequila and the quarterly financial statements, already knowing who was pulling up to my circular drive. Through the study window, I could see their black SUV shining under the security lights. Hope only rang the bell like that when she wanted money. I walked through my stone-tiled foyer, past family photographs that suddenly felt like relics from another life. Hope at age 6. Missing her front teeth at the Christmas party. Hope at 18, high school graduation in her blue dress. Hope at 27, her wedding day at the St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City. Each image now seemed to mock my own blindness. There she was, with that calculated smile, the one that hadn't reached her eyes in years. Roger loomed behind her, checking something on his phone, with the intensity of a man checking the results of cockfights or football bets. Neither one looked particularly happy to be visiting the estate. "Dad!" Hope hugged me, holding on for a moment too long. The embrace felt rehearsed, as if she were making an emotional deposit for a later withdrawal. Roger strode directly past me, without even a greeting, his expensive cowboy boots clicking against the stone tile as he headed straight for my leather armchair. My armchair. I followed him to the living room, noticing how Hope nervously adjusted her designer handbag, the one that cost $80,000 that I had bought her for the last holiday season. Roger had already spread documents across my walnut coffee table as if he were running a stock exchange board meeting. Hope sat on the edge of the sofa, her fingers finding the pearl necklace I had given her for her 30th birthday. She always touched it when she was about to ask for something. "Can I offer you something? Water, tequila, iced tea?" I suggested, though hospitality was the furthest thing from my mind. "Let's cut to the chase, Ed," Roger said without looking up from his papers. "We have a situation." Not even the courtesy of calling me Mr. Morales. I squeezed my glass of premium tequila harder and counted backward from 10. A rage management technique that wasn't working very well anymore. Hope's voice became sharp. Another signal. "Dad, you know we wouldn't come to you unless it was absolutely necessary. You always said family first, and we are family. What happened with the tequila investment property?" I kept my tone neutral, though my jaw had begun its familiar clenching. Roger finally looked up. His expression suggested I had asked about the time of the Civil War, agribusiness market corrections, a temporary setback. "But we aren't here about that." Hope's wedding ring, her maternal grandmother's ring, spun nervously on her finger. It was her tell when she was lying. It had been since she was 12 and denied breaking the ceramic angel figurine of my late wife. "The thing is," Hope began, then stopped and started again. "Roger has been working on this new project, an agricultural technology venture. Very promising, truly revolutionary." "How much?" I interrupted. The pendulum clock in the corner ticked for 3 long seconds of silence. Roger's cologne, something expensive and overpowering, mingled with the oak and agave notes of my tequila. Hope's heel tapped a nervous rhythm on the stone floor. "It's really not that much for someone with your holdings," Roger said, leaning back into my armchair. The leather creaked under his weight, a sound that had always been only mine until this night. $8 million. We need it in our account by 11 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. The room seemed to tilt slightly. The migraine that always started behind my left eye in moments of stress began its familiar pulse. Almost $8 million, said as casually as ordering burgers and fries. That is, I started and stopped. Memories came uninvited. Teaching Hope to ride her bike in the town square, her university graduation from New York University, walking her down the aisle of the St. Patrick's Cathedral at that luxury hotel in New York. Had that girl ever existed? Or had I imagined her? Dad, we wouldn't ask if we had any other choice. Hope's fingers moved from her necklace to wipe her eyes, though I noticed there were no real tears. The mortgage, the kids' schools? You know how expensive everything has gotten with inflation? Yes, I knew. I paid those tuitions directly, $250,000 per child per semester at that private American academy in New York. The mortgage on their house in Beverly Hills, the one I had covered the down payment for, $3.5 million, had been a one-time help 3 years ago. Roger stood up, walked to my liquor cabinet uninvited, and poured himself 3 fingers of my 30-year-old tequila. We're not dealing with bank people, Ed. These are serious people from Las Vegas. I would hate for this to affect your reputation at the golf club or your Chevrolet dealerships. The threat hung in the air like Roger's cologne, heavy, overwhelming, and nauseating. My blood pressure spiked. The migraine exploded from behind my eye across my skull. The room spun slightly, and I grabbed the fireplace mantle to steady myself. Dad, you look pale, Hope said. Not with concern, but with calculation, as if measuring my weakness for maximum advantage. Then she said the words that changed everything. If Mom were alive, she would be ashamed of how you're treating us. The words floated between us like a switchblade. Hope knew exactly what she was doing. Doris and I had divorced 8 years ago, but Hope still used her memory as a weapon when it suited her. It didn't matter that Doris was happily living in Florida with her new husband, a retired doctor. It didn't matter that she had warned me about Hope's manipulation during our Sunday calls. In Hope's version of the story, Doris was a saint who would have opened her checkbook without question. Your mother, I said slowly, would have told you to get jobs. Roger let out a short laugh from my liquor cabinet, still holding my tequila as if he had earned it. Jobs? I'm an entrepreneur, Ed. I create jobs. 3 failed companies in 4 years. A cryptocurrency disaster I had warned him about during the last holidays. The agricultural consulting firm that never consulted anyone. The organic product distributor that only lasted 6 months. I had financed them all, every single one, watching the money disappear into Roger's delusions of grandeur. You missed Junior's recital last month? Hope changed tactics, her voice trembling with manufactured pain. And Marianne's dance festival. But you have time for your quarterly reports. Those quarterly reports kept her children in private school, kept their SUV filled with gas, kept their address in Beverly Hills respectable. But I didn't say that. Instead, I watched Hope's mascara run in 2 perfect streams. She had clearly practiced this performance. Let me understand this. I released the fireplace mantle, straightening up despite the migraine. You need $8 million by 11 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. For what exactly? Hope and Roger exchanged a look. The kind married couple's perfect after years of coordinated deceit. Roger put down my tequila and returned to the coffee table, shuffling papers with the unconscious rhythm of someone used to handling cards or chips. Real estate opportunity, he said. It's time sensitive. We can't miss this window. You just said you lost money on real estate in Texas. That was different. Roger's knuckles turned white as he gripped one of the documents. This is cryptocurrency. This is a sure thing. The slip was small but significant. Crypto, not real estate. The same mistake that cost them $3.5 million 8 months ago. My left hand began to tremble. A new symptom in my 65th year. I put it in my pocket. Hope's phone vibrated. She glanced at it, typed quickly, then placed it face down. Dad, we've supported you through so much. When you and Mom divorced, who was by your side? When the economy crashed in 2020, who helped keep the dealerships running? You were in Hawaii all that summer, I reminded her, showing it off daily on social media. That's not fair. I began to list, my voice firm despite the rising anger. The wedding, $12 million. The down payment on the house, $3.5 million. Roger's first company, $2.4 million. The second, $1.8 million. The third? That's ancient history, Roger interrupted, standing up, trying to use his height as an advantage. We're talking about our future. The future of your grandchildren. The grandchildren whose tuition I paid directly to the school. Hope also stood up, grabbing her phone. The rehearsed childhood photo, the one of us at Disneyland when she was 7, suddenly appeared on the coffee table. She had brought it as a prop. These aren't just debts, Ed. Roger moved closer, close enough that I could see the small scar above his left eyebrow. These are obligations to serious people, with serious consequences. By 11 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. Or things get complicated for everyone. Your reputation, the dealerships, that nice golf club membership. You are threatening me in my own home. My voice dropped to barely a whisper. We're just being honest about the reality, Hope said. But her voice cracked. She had never seen me this angry, this controlled. Dad, please, we need this. Tomorrow by 11 o'clock in the morning. That's non-negotiable. The room felt stifling despite the central air conditioning. My migraine pulsed with every heartbeat. Roger's cologne seemed to thicken the air. Hope's calculated tears had run her makeup into something almost theatrical. I looked at both of them. My daughter, who had become a stranger, and her husband, who had never pretended to be anything other than a parasite. The pendulum clock chimed 9 times. Outside, the Beverly Hills neighborhood continued its quiet evening routines, oblivious to the family destruction happening in my living room. All right. The word came out flat, exhausted. Tomorrow. Now get out. Hope mistook my exhaustion for surrender. She lunged forward, arms outstretched for another hug. I took a step back, letting her arms fall empty. Roger extended his hand to shake mine, gripping too tightly, asserting a dominance he had never earned. We knew you'd understand, Hope said, picking up her designer handbag and her rehearsed photo. Family first, right, Dad? They left without another word, Roger's hand possessively on Hope's lower back, guiding her like a casino chip he had just won. I stood in the entryway, watching the distinctive growl of their SUV's engine fade down the street. The taillights disappeared as they turned onto the main avenue of the neighborhood. I waited for exactly 5 minutes after their taillights vanished before making the first call. Charles Harris answered on the second ring. Despite the late hour, 25 years of friendship and legal advice meant he knew my patterns. I never called after 9, unless something was seriously wrong. They finally crossed the line, didn't they? His voice showed no surprise, just resignation. 11 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. As if I were an ATM with a withdrawal limit they finally exceeded. The house transfer papers are already filed, Charles. I heard the rustling of papers on his end. They just don't know it yet, remember? You insisted on keeping it in your name when you paid the down payment. What about Doris? She's waiting for your call. Says it was about time you stopped enabling them. I hung up and immediately went to my home office. The migraine had transformed from throbbing pain to cold clarity. My laptop opened to a confirmation email from 3 weeks ago. Miami, April 5th to May 15th. Your reservation is confirmed. The retirement planning trip would now serve a different purpose. I called the airline, navigating the automated system with practical efficiency. The morning flight could be moved to 6:15 in the morning. First class still available. 1 passenger. My safe opened with a combination I had never shared, not even with Hope. Inside, organized in labeled folders, lay 15 years of financial documentation. Every check, every bank transfer, every loan. The agreement Roger signed in December of 2023, promising this would be the last request. Hope's social media posts from the last year, printed and dated, showing her luxurious lifestyle while pleading poverty. Shopping trips at Saks Fifth Avenue, dinners at expensive restaurants, weekend trips to Palm Beach. I found an old shipping box in the garage, ordinary and unremarkable. Inside, I arranged 3 sets of documents with a lawyer's precision. First, the deed to their house. Second, the complete loan history, $15 million over 7 years, meticulously documented. Third, the legal notices Charles had prepared months ago, hoping we would never need them. At the bottom, I placed a flash drive containing the security recordings from tonight. The cameras I had installed after a break-in 2 years ago had captured everything. Hope's rehearsed tears, Roger's threats, their coordinated manipulation. On top, I put a single note. They wanted this by tomorrow. Here is what they are really going to receive. Packing took me 30 minutes. 2 suitcases efficiently, filled with tropical weather clothes, essential documents, medications. My dealership manager, Alex, received a brief email. Family emergency. You are in charge. Details to follow. I stood in the hallway, looking at the family portrait we had taken 4 years ago at the park by Lake Tahoe. Hope's smile looked genuine then, or maybe I just wanted to believe it was. I lifted the heavy frame off the wall, turned it around, and hung it back up. The blank canvas seemed more honest somehow. In my room, I took off my NYU class ring, the one Hope used to play with as a child, pretending she would wear it someday. It went into the box with everything else. The migraine had completely disappeared, replaced by something closer to anticipation. My phone showed 3 texts from Hope. I deleted them unread. Roger had called twice, probably to reinforce the deadline for tomorrow. The voice messages could wait forever. I made one more call, this time to Doris in Florida. She answered immediately, as if she had been waiting by the phone. Ed, Charles called. Are you really going through with it? I should have done this years ago. She is our daughter. Doris's voice carried sadness, not judgment. But she's not the daughter we raised, is she? No, she is not. We were silent for a moment. The place in Miami. Will you be safe there? It's a vacation, a long one. Alex can handle the dealerships. The lawyers can handle everything else. She'll try to find you, you know. Let her try. By the time she figures out what's really in that box, I'll be drinking coffee on the beach, deciding if I ever want to come back. We said goodbye without sentimentality. Doris understood what Hope had become, perhaps sooner than I did. Mothers always know. At 11:30 in the evening, I was in my dark kitchen drinking water and studying the refrigerator covered with my grandchildren's drawings. Stick figures labeled Grandpa and me fishing at the lake. A crayon drawing of my dealership with Grandpa's work scrawled underneath. I carefully peeled off the fishing drawing, folded it, and put it in my wallet. The children were not responsible for their parents' decisions. I placed the box on the porch table where they would be sure to see it. The doorbell camera would capture their reaction when they opened it at 11 o'clock in the morning, expecting a check and finding instead the complete dismantling of their illusions. The alarm was set for 4:30 in the morning. 6 hours until my new life began. 6.5 hours until theirs crumbled. Follow this channel before you watch the rest of the story. What do you think they found in that box? Write your comment below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next stories. The alarm sliced through the darkness at exactly 4:30 in the morning. No snooze button, no hesitation. I had trained myself over 30 years of morning dealership meetings to wake instantly. Today, that discipline served a different purpose. The coffee maker clicked on, already programmed the night before. A dark roast from South America, the kind Hope always complained was too strong when she still visited for breakfast. The ceramic mug warmed my hands, an anniversary gift from her 10 years ago, when she still remembered those dates. Through the kitchen window, the New York City skyline began its slow awakening. Office buildings lighting up floor by floor, while most of the city still slept. I moved through my house with deliberate precision, documenting each room like a detective at a crime scene. The master bedroom still held the portrait of Doris's father. Hope had always wanted it. She just never asked for it nicely enough to receive it. Her childhood room, long converted into an office, still displayed her high school trophies. National debate champion, academic excellence, the daughter I had raised versus the stranger who demanded money 12 hours ago. The pool area looked serene in the dawn light. I had taught Hope to swim there, her fearless 4-year-old splash. Last July, Roger had gotten drunk at our 4th of July celebration, fell in fully clothed, and then blamed me for the pool's location. Even then I had given him the check for his ruined designer watch. The car purred to life in the garage. I chose the sedan over the sports car. Roger had too many memories in that car, too many assumptions about inheritance. The streets of the exclusive development were empty, except for the garbage trucks starting their Saturday routes. I drove past Hope's development, all the houses dark, peaceful. They were sleeping, probably dreaming of ways to spend my money. The radio played country music, a familiar tune filling the cabin. At the intersection of the main avenues, I considered calling Doris, but decided against it. Charles would handle that conversation better than I could. The freeway stretched ahead, almost empty. I passed 3 of my dealerships, their lots full of inventory that would soon be Alex's responsibility. The main location still had my photo in the lobby. That would have to change. Near downtown, I noticed Roger's favorite casino, where his gambling connections congregated, where all this mess had really started. Construction on the main avenue forced a detour onto another street. The city where I had built my business for 3 decades looked different in the pre-dawn darkness. Like a stage set for a play I would no longer be acting in. Charles's office occupied the 38th floor of the One World Trade Center. At 5:30 in the morning, the building was mostly empty, save for security and the obsessively ambitious. Charles was waiting in the conference room with Martha, his legal assistant. Documents spread across the table with military precision. A box of sweet donuts in the center. Our tradition for important deals since 2001. "You look surprisingly rested," Charles observed, sliding the power of attorney across the table. "The first good night's sleep in months." I signed with my father's fountain pen, the one Hope didn't know existed. "Limited scope, I see. Expires in 60 days. Property transfers and financial restructuring only. Can't have you selling my organs, after all." My attempt at lightness fell flat. We both knew this was necessary surgery, not revenge. Martha presented the property documentation with clinical efficiency. "The interesting part, Mr. Morales, is the timing. The transfer was executed yesterday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That was 3 hours before they arrived at your house." Hope's house has been legally yours since she signed those papers in 2021. She never read the second page. The irony was perfect. While Hope drove to my house to demand money, she had already lost her biggest asset. The house she constantly boasted about on social media, the symbol of her success, had never been hers. The financial lockdown? Executed at midnight. Joint accounts frozen. Credit cards in your name suspended. The children's tuitions remain on autopay until December. We are not punishing them. Charles pulled out another folder, thicker than the rest, the nuclear option. How shall we discuss? Inside were transcripts of Hope's texts to her friends calling me a walking ATM and too pathetic to say no. The promissory note Roger signed in 2023, swearing this was the last time. The flash drive with the security recordings from last night. Their entire performance captured in high definition. The prenuptial agreement Roger signed, Charles continued, includes a gambling addiction clause, page 47, subsection 3. He doesn't know. His lawyer was too hungover to read that far. Showed up to the signing smelling of tequila at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Martha looked uncomfortable. Mr. Morales, this is remarkably thorough. 5 years in the making, I countered. I just kept hoping I would never need it. Charles pulled out a shipping box identical to the one in my sedan. Are you sure? If she doesn't find yours, this one goes to her office on Monday along with this. He revealed photos. Roger at the casino last week, the timestamp clear, the losses visible on his face. Does Doris know? She's known for months. She helped document everything. She is as tired of enabling Hope as you are. The property in Miami? Purchased through the offshore entity, completely shielded. Even if Hope gets ambitious with lawyers, she can't touch it. I signed the final document, my hand shaking slightly over the dissolution of Hope's trust. 20 years of planning her future dissolved with a single signature. Charles noticed the tremor. Tequila. He pointed to his desk drawer. Another tradition. No, I need a clear head for the flight. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I stood up and shook Charles's hand. His grip conveyed understanding, sympathy, and resolve. The elevator descended alone, each floor marking the distance from my former life. The valet already had my sedan running. I handed him a $20 bill in an envelope. Alex Martinez will pick this up on Monday. The young man nodded, confused but professional. I drove toward the airport as the sun broke the horizon, painting the city skyline in gold. My phone vibrated, Hope calling earlier than expected, the last time I would hear that tone without choosing to answer. The freeway stretched toward the airport as dawn painted the hills in copper and gold. The familiar route felt different this morning. Every landmark was a farewell. The coffee shop was setting up at the intersection where I usually stopped for breakfast. Not today. The news radio discussed the expansion plans of a local businessman. My own dealership group, ironically, though they wouldn't be mine for long. Hope called 3 times in a row, then Roger once. Each tone felt like a countdown. 10 years ago, that sound would have made me answer immediately, worried something had happened to the grandchildren. Now I recognized it for what it was. The sound of entitlement demanding its due. Mental inventory as I merged onto the freeway. Alex had run Saturday operations for 5 years. He would manage fine. The property management company had its instructions and 6 months of prepayment. The grandchildren's tuitions would continue until December. They shouldn't suffer for their parents' decisions. Everything else had ceased to be my responsibility at midnight. The airport's south terminal emerged from the morning haze. The valet stand was not busy yet. Only 2 attendants preparing for the day's rush. Michael, who had parked my cars for 4 years, looked surprised. Early flights, Mr. Morales? Change of plans. I handed him the keys and an envelope. Alex Martinez will pick this up on Monday. His information is inside. Everything all right, sir? Better than it's been in years. I didn't look back at the car. That car had taken Hope to her wedding, Roger to countless casinos, me to innumerable ATM withdrawals. I would let Alex decide what to do with it. The first-class counter was empty, except for Ellen, who had checked me in for dozens of business trips. Miami today, Mr. Morales. I have you on the 6:15 to Dallas, connecting to Miami. That's right. Normal conversation masking a life-changing shift. 2 bags to check. That's all I need. As she handed back my passport, I pulled out a sealed envelope. I need a favor, Ellen. Someone will come to pick this up later today. Hope Morales. She will be agitated. Ellen's professionalism never wavered. Special instructions? Just verify her identification. There's a key inside for a storage unit. She will understand. Or she wouldn't. Either way, the storage unit contained 20 years of her childhood belongings. I had saved things she never bothered to collect. I would let her decide if the memories were worth more than the money. The expedited security line moved with Saturday morning efficiency. The usual agents recognized me. Where to today, Mr. Morales? Business or pleasure? Neither. Personal. I walked through the scanner, belt removed, shoes in the tray. The mundane ritual of modern travel felt surreal against the backdrop of my life's deliberate demolition. I collected my belongings, each item returning to its designated pocket, except my phone, which remained off. The airport coffee shop at gate 14 and muscle memory guided me to the counter. The barista, Dave according to his name tag, smiled with morning enthusiasm. The usual, medium Americano, no room. Make it large today. Special occasion. You could say that. I sat by the gate, the coffee warming my hands just as my mug at home had done 2 hours ago. My phone showed its final statistics before I turned it off for good. 7 missed calls from Hope, 3 from Roger, 12 text messages, 2 voice messages. Hope's last text caught my eye. Dad, call me. I had weird dreams about money. I typed a reply. Dreams and reality are often different. I deleted it. I typed again, check the porch. I deleted that too. Finally, I typed, ask Charles Harris. Then I deleted that too. Instead, I powered down the phone, removed the SIM card, and tossed both into the nearest trash bin. The disposable phone in my pocket would activate in Miami. First-class passengers for Flight 4023 to Chicago, please begin boarding. The gate agent scanned my boarding pass with a practical smile. The boarding bridge stretched forward, each step lighter than the last. The flight attendant welcomed me to seat 2A, window left. I accepted the offered champagne, unusual for 6 o'clock in the morning, perfect for this moment. Other passengers walked past. A honeymoon couple, laughing and constantly touching, reminded me of Doris and me 35 years ago. A business traveler typed frantically on his laptop, chasing some deadline that seemed monumentally important. That had been me once, building an empire for a daughter who only saw ATM codes. An older woman settled into 3C with knitting needles and blue yarn, just like Hope's grandmother used to do before the arthritis. Excuse me. A familiar voice made me freeze. Doris was in the aisle, designer carry-on in hand, looking exactly as composed as she had during our divorce proceedings. She settled into 2C across the aisle, close enough to talk, far enough to maintain the boundaries we had established a decade ago. Charles called, she said simply. I thought you might need backup. It's not your fight anymore. It hasn't been for 8 years, but she is still my daughter. Someone should be there when she lands. I must have looked confused. I bought the villa next door 6 months ago. Charles is truly thorough. He found it, negotiated the deal, handled everything. I've been planning this as long as you have. The captain's voice cut in. Slight delay for our final passenger. My chest tightened. Hope, had she found out early? Roger? The door opened, but it was just a hurried businessman apologizing as he squeezed toward economy. Did you tell her? I asked Doris. Tell her what? That her father finally stopped enabling her? That her husband is a parasite? That she became exactly what we swore she never would? No, Ed. She's going to find out for herself today. Sure enough, the door closed with pneumatic finality. 7:05 in the morning. Pushback. 7:15 in the morning. Engines roaring to life. The acceleration pressed me back into leather that didn't smell like Roger's cologne or Hope's perfume. The city shrank below. The hills and lakes I had called home for 30 years became abstract geometry. Somewhere down there, Hope's alarm was going off. In 4 hours, she would arrive at my empty house. In 5 hours, she would find the box. In 6 hours, my former life would be completely dismantled. The flight attendant appeared with breakfast menus. Business or pleasure? She asked with a smile. Neither, I considered the question. It's justice. Doris laughed. The first genuine laugh I had heard from her in years. That's the Ed I married. Welcome back. New York disappeared beneath the clouds. Exactly at 11 o'clock in the morning, when Hope was expecting $500,000. I was having lunch over the Gulf of Mexico. Doris was reading beside me, both of us finally free from the daughter we had loved and lost years before the money ran out. I learned what happened next, the way I learned most things about Hope's life. Secondhand through cameras and witnesses. A father watching his daughter's life as a documentary he couldn't turn off. Charles sent me the security recordings 3 days later. I watched them on my laptop from the balcony in Miami. The Pacific waves provided a strangely peaceful soundtrack to my daughter's collapse. The timestamp showed 11 o'clock in the morning, exactly when the first text arrived. Your transaction has been completed. That was Charles confirming the house transfer had been registered. At that precise moment, I was ordering seafood, and Hope was probably still sleeping off the hangover Roger had bought with my previous loan. Based on her Saturday routine, Charles had documented this too. Hope left her house at 10:45 in the morning. The coffee shop charge at 11:02 confirmed it. A $4 latte on the credit card I had canceled at midnight. The rejection wouldn't register until Monday, when the weekend authorizations processed. Her last purchase with my money. Mrs. Smith, my neighbor of 12 years, provided the next chapter. She had called Charles at 11:20 in the morning, speaking in her precise Spanish that years of teaching had perfected. Mr. Harris, they are here. Hope and the gambler. They don't know I'm watching. The security recordings resumed at 11:23. Hope's black SUV parked in my driveway with the confidence of someone collecting their allowance. Roger checked his phone. Charles later confirmed he was following football scores, probably planning his next bet with my money. Hope applied lipstick in the mirror, the same red shade she had used to ask for her first car at 16, the down payment for her wedding at 27. The $8 million demand yesterday at 34. They walked to my door as if they owned it. Roger carried an empty designer briefcase, $180,000 retail. Bought with my money in January, empty, waiting for cash that would never come. Hope rang the doorbell at 11:25:32, a normal ring, not the demanding triple press from yesterday. She waited exactly 10 seconds. I knew her patterns. Then she rang again, longer this time. Roger cupped his hands against the side window, peering into my empty kitchen. His car is gone, Hope said, loud enough for Mrs. Smith to hear from her garden. So what? He has 4 cars? Roger's dismissive tone carried across the yard. The lights are on timers. Hope noticing what I had programmed weeks ago. "Maybe he went to get cash from the bank," she said. "You said 11. It's barely past." They tried the door at 11:27. Hope's keys scraped against the lock, unable to find purchase. Charles's assistant had changed them at 7 o'clock in the morning, 3 hours after I left for the airport. The confusion on Hope's face was almost worth the decades of manipulation. Roger saw the box at 11:28, just a shipping package on the porch table. Unremarkable, except for Hope written in black marker across the top. He opened it casually, probably expecting a late birthday gift or an apology present. The first document he pulled out was the deed to their house. His face changed like a time-lapse photograph of fruit rotting, from confusion to disbelief to horror in less than 3 seconds. He dropped it, and Hope snatched it before it hit the floor. "What do you mean it's in his name?" Hope's voice carried all the way to Mrs. Smith's yard. Hope pulled out the next spreadsheet. Every payment, every loan, every gift, meticulously documented. Total $15 million over 7 years, not including the house. Her hands trembled as she reached the bottom line. The photographs came out next. Roger at the casino last week. The timestamp clear. His losses written on his face. Then the promissory note he had signed, swearing the December money was the last he would ask for. Hope's text messages to her friends, printed and highlighted. "Dad is too pathetic to say no and will cave. And my personal favorite, I deserve this money more than him." At 11:33, Hope's phone vibrated. The first credit card declined, then another and another. The primary card, the gold one. All suspended, all in my name, all canceled at midnight while she slept. Roger tried to call someone at 11:35. His bookie, Charles discovered later, who informed him that credit extensions required collateral, not promises. Hope collapsed onto my porch steps, her designer dress crumpling against the concrete I had redone last summer. She found the flash drive at 11:36:22. She plugged it into her phone with shaking fingers. Her own voice echoed from the speaker, small but clear. "Just take whatever he gives you. He's too pathetic to say no." Then Roger's voice. "These are not bank people, Ed. They are serious individuals." The prenuptial agreement surfaced last. Page 47 was highlighted in yellow. The gambling addiction clause circled in red. Immediate loss of marital assets and gambling debts exceeding $800,000. Roger had passed that limit 3 years ago. Roger threw his briefcase against my front door at 11:38:17. The handle broke, the designer leather scattering across my porch. Hope's crying became audible on the recording. Not the pretty tears from yesterday, but raw, ugly sounds of someone realizing she had gambled herself. Mrs. Smith emerged at 11:39, her small frame holding her phone like a weapon. "I'm calling the police if you don't leave. This is my neighbor's house." "This is my father's house," Hope screamed, the mascara creating abstract art on her cheeks. "Not anymore. Mr. Morales sent me the property transfer notice this morning. You are trespassing." Roger ran to the car at 11:40, leaving Hope picking up scattered papers, her fortune now just trash on my porch. She left some behind. The wind would take care of them. Roger sped off, burning rubber, leaving marks on my driveway that the property manager would charge to his account. At 11:41 exactly, when Hope discovered her inheritance had evaporated, I was watching the ocean from a beachfront restaurant in Miami. The waiter had just asked me if I was celebrating an anniversary. "No," I said. "My freedom." Charles called on Monday with the epilogue. Hope returned on Sunday morning with a locksmith who refused the job once he verified ownership. She tried to jump the fence until the security company responded. The police gave her a warning for trespassing. Roger never returned. Charles heard he had moved to his brother's apartment in San Diego. The divorce papers were already filed. 3 days later, sitting on my balcony with Doris reading beside me, Charles asked if I wanted to see the full recording. "No," I said, watching the pelicans glide over the lagoon. The shouting I had heard for 5 years was finally blessedly silent. Charles sent me the parking garage recordings 3 days later. I watched them from my terrace in Miami, gentle waves in the background as my daughter's life imploded on my laptop. The timestamp showed 7 o'clock in the evening on April 4th, exactly when I was having my first peaceful dinner in years. Their SUV screeched into the underground parking garage of Hope's condo building. Even without audio, Roger's body language screamed rage. He slammed the door so hard that the car alarm went off, its lights flashing like a distress signal no one would answer. Hope chased him to the elevator, clutching those documents like evidence in a murder trial, which in a way they were, evidence of the murder of her illusions. The building's elevator audio, which Charles's assistant somehow obtained, captured their conversation with devastating clarity. Hope's voice, sharp with betrayal. "You said it was commercial real estate investment." Roger's denial came quickly. Too desperate. The casino was just for stress relief. Stress relief? Stress relief? The sound of papers hitting flesh. Then the pleasant ding of the elevator, the doors closing on Hope's raw crying. By 7:30 in the evening, Hope had started a live stream on social media that would become legendary among New York's social circles. Charles's assistant captured screenshots of everything before Hope deleted it minutes later. There she was, mascara creating abstract art on her cheeks, wine glass shaking in her manicured hand. When someone you trust betrays you. She held the house deed toward the camera, Roger visible in the background, throwing clothes into a suitcase. When your whole life is built on lies. The wine glass flew across the room, smashing against their wedding photo. End of stream. 47 people watched Hope Morales, the social butterfly of the exclusive development, self-destruct in real time. 3 were employees of my dealerships, who immediately forwarded the recording to Charles. Roger's mother called my office on Monday morning, her voice message preserved in Charles's meticulous records. "Mr. Morales, Roger has been missing since Saturday night. Hope says you kidnapped him." A pause heavy with maternal despair. "I know it sounds crazy, but you know where my son is." I didn't know, but I knew where he had been. Roger had spent those hours calling everyone he had ever known with money. Golf club friends, college buddies, even his ex-girlfriend's father. Each conversation shorter than the last, each rejection adding weight to his desperation. His mother heard him say, his voice broken, "It's not just about money anymore. These people don't play." Between 8:30 and 10 o'clock in the evening, Hope dove deep into internet legal advice. Her search history, visible because she had used my online shopping account to access the Wi-Fi, read like a map of denial. Can a father reclaim a gifted house? How to break power of attorney. Statute of limitations, financial gifts. Emergency bankruptcy lawyers, New York. Can casino debts affect wife? Cheap divorce lawyer, no retainer. The last search hurt more than expected. Not because I wanted her to divorce Roger. That was years overdue. But because she immediately went looking for someone else to finance it. Isabel, Hope's best friend from college, called Doris around 10 o'clock in the evening. Hope had finally played the entire flash drive. Not just yesterday's recording, 5 years of family gatherings, birthday parties, and Christmas dinners, all secretly recorded. Hope's voice calling me a walking ATM on her 30th birthday. Roger joking about bleeding the old man dry at Christmas dinner. Hope coaching Roger on manipulation tactics before our anniversary dinner, the family toast, where they had mockingly thanked good old Dad, the family bank. She played it 3 times, Isabel told Doris, as if she couldn't believe it was real. The credit card cascade began at exactly 10:17 in the evening, each rejection notification sounding in Charles's monitoring system. Primary card declined, gold card suspended, store card invalid, even her coffee shop card deactivated. A food delivery driver filed a complaint the next day. Hope had ordered $360 worth of sushi planning to pay cash. There was no cash in the house. The driver threatened a lawsuit in small claims court, while Roger was already at a pawn shop with his jewelry. Hope's social media posts between 11 o'clock in the evening and midnight became local gossip legend, each one deleted in minutes. But the screenshots spread like wildfire. Betrayed by blood. When your father chooses money over family. Does anyone know employment lawyers? Selling designer bags. Serious offers only. The comments she didn't expect arrived immediately. Her cousin. Didn't you just brag about your pizza last week? High school friend. I thought your dad bought you everything. Former colleague. Aren't you the one who quit working after getting married? While Hope's world crumbled, Doris and I were sitting on the beach terrace, playing cards. A local musician strummed nearby, and I gave him $20 to play that classical piece. Doris laughed. The first genuine laugh I had heard from her in years. You're terrible at cards, she observed, taking my chips. I'm free, I replied. And I meant it. Mrs. Smith called Charles again at 11:45 in the evening. Hope had returned to my house, just sitting in her SUV in the driveway, not trying to enter, not furious, just sitting, watching the dark windows as if they might suddenly light up with forgiveness. She stayed there for an hour, Mrs. Smith reported. When she finally left at 1 o'clock in the morning, she looked different, like she had aged 10 years in 10 hours. By midnight on April 4th, Hope had lost access to $42 million in assets. Discovered $8 million in hidden gambling debts. Realized Roger had gambled away their savings, found out she never owned her house, and learned her mother had known everything for months. Charles asked if I felt guilty about the recordings. I told him the only thing I regretted was not starting to record sooner. On Sunday morning, April 5th, Hope stood in the entrance of my office building for 2 hours. The security recordings showed her pressing the intercom every few minutes, like a child repeatedly pressing the elevator button, hoping persistence would change reality. She called employees from the company directory she had stolen years ago. Alex blocked her after the 3rd call. Others simply didn't answer. By noon, she had moved to the international airport, the same terminal where I had dropped her off for college visits, where I had greeted her back from her honeymoon. Now she was there as a detective, desperately looking for clues of my escape. Airport security would not provide passenger information. The airline required a court order. When she pleaded family emergency, they checked their system. The passenger specifically requested no contact, the agent informed her. Charles had the airport security video, Hope's face crumbling at those words. Her transportation receipts that afternoon, the last trips before the account was cut, mapped a path of desperation across the city. The golf club, membership revoked, entry denied. The restaurant where we had celebrated every major deal. We haven't seen Mr. Morales lately. Even my barber shop on Main Street, although it was closed on Sundays. She stood outside peering through the windows as if strands of my hair could reveal my location. Monday, April 6th, became Hope's legal education day. 4 law firms, 4 identical consultations, each lawyer's expression changing from interest to sympathy as they reviewed the documents. This is shielded, said the first. First, you will need a retainer of $20,000, said the second. Do you have access to funds? Asked the third. The fourth just shook his head. Shook. The dealership confrontation at 1 o'clock in the afternoon made it onto employee social media. Hope stormed into the main location on 5th Avenue, demanding answers from Alex. Alex Martinez, 6 feet 3 inches tall, former military, remained perfectly calm while she screamed about kidnapping, elder abuse, and theft. When she threw her coffee against the glass door, customers started recording. The brown stain would remain there for 3 days. Alex left it there on principle. Roger's mother's voice message at 5 o'clock in the afternoon conveyed a mother's worst fears. Mr. Morales, Roger has been missing since Saturday night. Hope says you kidnapped him. I know it's crazy, but do you know where my son is? Tuesday, April 7th. The real creditors arrived. Not bank representatives in discount suits, but 2 men in Italian leather who knocked politely and spoke quietly. They left a business card with only a phone number. No threats, no violence. Just the weight of unspoken consequences. Hope called Roger 47 times. His phone had been off since Saturday. Her social media stories that afternoon, captured by her college friends, documented the pawn shop tour. Designer bags valued at $56,000 sold for $14,000. Jewelry valued at $90,000 sold for $26,000. 3 of Roger's abandoned watches valued at $70,000 sold for $22,000. She was still short $7.38 million of what they needed that night. Doris took the call from Hope. She recorded it with legal permission, knowing that eventually I would need to hear it. Mom, did you know? Hope's voice sounded younger, almost childlike. About Roger's gambling for 6 months. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have listened? Silence. Then I need money. I needed it too. During the divorce, you told me I should be independent. The call ended with Hope's sobs cut off by Doris's disconnection. Wednesday, April 8th. Hope walked into Charles's office wearing the same designer dress from her Florida posts the previous week. The irony was not lost on Charles, who noted it in his report. The same conference room where I had signed the papers. The same chair where she had spread her lies. Charles showed her everything with clinical precision. The power of attorney that predated her emergency. The house deed trail, her signature from 2021, never having read past page 2. Gift tax returns, proving every dollar was a gift, not a loan. Roger's promissory note, his signature bold and undeniable. He is my father. Hope's desperation cracked her voice. He has to help me. Legally, he does not. What about support for the grandchildren? Trusts in their names only. Untouchable until they are 18. This is elder abuse. He is 65. He is of sound mind. He left voluntarily. Charles accidentally left Roger's credit report visible on his tablet. Hope's eyes widened as she absorbed the full catastrophe. $8 million in gambling debts. $360,000 in personal loans she never knew about. $180,000 in credit cards he had hidden. Even an attempt at a second mortgage on their house, denied due to ownership issues. The final envelope slid across the mahogany table with a whispered promise. Mr. Morales authorized one last gift. Inside, a cashier's check for $20,000 and a note in my handwriting. For a new beginning, Dad. Hope tore it in half. The pieces fluttered to the floor like dead leaves. She immediately asked if there was another. There wasn't. There never would be. Meanwhile, I was learning Polynesian dances from the locals. Rich Tony, they called me, laughing as I massacred the movements. My blood pressure had dropped 15 points. I was sleeping 8 hours straight. I hadn't thought about Hope in 2 days, until Doris mentioned her. On Wednesday evening, Charles reported that Hope left his office at noon. The security recordings show her sitting in the lobby until the building closed at 9 o'clock. The guard said she asked if I ever talked about her. He lied. He said, "Yes, he spoke fondly of you." She said thank you and left. That night in Miami, I dreamed I was teaching Hope to ride her bike again. But this time when I let go, she kept pedaling until she disappeared. The local newspaper article arrived in my inbox on April 15th. Local businessman missing after financial scandal. Roger Smith, 36, had not been seen since April 6th. Wife filed missing person report. Police found no evidence of foul play. His car in the long-term airport parking lot. Ticket to Argentina bought but never used. The creditors returned to Hope's condo on April 16th. More insistent this time, according to the police report Hope filed. They left a photo from February. Roger at the casino, chips scattered on the table, owing $500,000. Hope applied for a restraining order. The judge asked about the money owed. Order denied. Her yard sale that weekend became neighborhood entertainment. The social media group post sent by Charles's investigator painted a portrait of decline. Moving sale. Everything must go. Furniture that once housed charity galas. $300. Roger's custom golf clubs. $30. Wedding china. Fine crystal. $80 for the set. Her wedding dress preserved in acid-free paper. There were no buyers at any price. A neighbor posted. Sad. A year ago, she hosted that charity gala here. Raised $80,000. By mid-April, Hope's job applications flooded the city's job market. 40 positions in 2 weeks, tracked through professional networks, interior design firms, employment gap too long, sales positions, overqualified. Finally, Macy's hired her. The same store where she had spent thousands monthly. Starting salary, $28 per hour plus commission. The universe's sense of irony remained intact. On April 18th, an eviction notice appeared on her condo door. 3 months behind on the mortgage. Roger had handled the finances. He never mentioned the mounting debt. $4,400 monthly payment. $25,200 owed. Plus late charges. Deadline May 18th. Pay or vacate. She discovered this after returning from her first day at the store. Still wearing the employee tag she had once ignored on others. The divorce proceedings on April 22nd read like a corporate dissolution. Abandonment cited as cause. Roger to be notified. Location unknown. The judge allowed notification by publication in 3 newspapers. Cost: $900 that Hope didn't have. She used her employee discount to buy a suit for court. The first clothes she had bought with earned money in 7 years. While Hope rebuilt from the ashes, I was building something new in Miami. My days developed a rhythm I had forgotten existed. Sunrise with the tropical birds. Coffee watching the lagoon. Morning swims in waters so clear I could see my feet. Lunch at Joe's shack, where no one knew about dealerships or daughters. The local children called me Professor Tony. I taught them Spanish idioms in exchange for phrases in coastal Spanish. Their parents invited me to dinners where no one mentioned money, investments, or opportunities. Real conversations about fishing, weather, and island legends. No one asked for anything except to pass the salt. Doris took up snorkeling, discovering colorful fish that made us both laugh. We hadn't laughed together since Hope turned 16 and started seeing us as resources instead of parents. It wasn't romantic between us. That died long ago. But it was peaceful, like survivors of the same shipwreck sharing a lifeboat. My transformation impressed the doctor in Miami. Blood pressure 30 points lower, 22 pounds lost without trying, off 2 medications. "What changed?" he asked in accented English. "Everything and nothing. I stopped financing other people's lives and started living mine. On April 28th, a gossip site published the news. Missing New York businessman spotted in Argentina. Roger Smith working at a vineyard in Mendoza under a fake name. The photo showed him carrying boxes, 18 pounds thinner, no wedding ring. Extradition unlikely for civil debts. Hope commented on the article with just 2 words. Good riddance. On April 30th, Hope finally used the key to the airport storage unit. Michael reported what she found. Every item from her childhood I had saved. Photo albums she thought she had thrown away. Her grandmother's jewelry assumed lost in the divorce. A savings bond for $90,000 in her name that matured in a year. And a note in my handwriting. For when you remember who you were before the money mattered. Dad. The email arrived on May 2nd, sent via Charles. Charles Harris. Please tell my father I found the storage unit. I understand now. I'm sorry, I'm working at Macy's. I'm surviving. Maybe that's the lesson. Don't tell him. But is he happy? Hope. Charles asked if he should reply. May 5th, sunset on the beach. Doris reading beside me. The same musician from my first night, playing nearby. The same time Hope was discovering the box that changed everything. Tell her yes, I told Charles on the phone. Tell her I'm happy, and tell her the bond was her mother's idea. Anything else? Tell her I'll be here when she's ready to visit. But she pays her own ticket. That night I watched the local families on the beach. 3 generations playing together. No one looking at phones. Everyone engaged in real conversation. Poor by my country's standards. Rich in every measure that mattered. Hope texted Charles. Thanks for telling me. Maybe for Christmas, if I save enough. The first time in 5 years she had mentioned saving for something. On May 10th, Joe's band played at the beach bar. They dedicated a song to Rich Tony. Not the classical piece this time, but a local folk song about a man who found treasure by giving everything away. Doris translated with tears in her eyes. It wasn't really about me. It was about all the expats there. All running from something, all finding something else. Charles called that night to say Hope had sold her SUV, bought a simple 8-year-old car, opened a savings account, posted on social media about the dignity of honest work. Should I keep monitoring her? He asked. No, I said. The lesson was learned. The teaching is over. The learning is perhaps just beginning. The eviction notice had been on Hope's door since April 18th. By May 15th, Charles told me she had exhausted all options, pleading with the property management, offering partial payments, even trying to negotiate with the building owner. She never knew I had sold that property to an investment trust in January, anticipating this exact moment. The building security recordings showed her renting the smallest moving truck available that Saturday morning. Loading it alone took her 10 hours. Mrs. Peterson, whom Hope had complained about for years over her noisy grandchildren, offered help from her balcony. Hope's pride, even broken, wouldn't let her accept. She struggled with a leather sofa she had bought with my money, dragging it inch by inch to the truck while neighbors watched from their windows. The storage unit she could afford contained everything except clothes and her laptop. 1 month prepaid, the cheapest facility in the city. Pure irony, her unit was directly next to the one I had left her with the bond. She walked past it daily, never realizing. May 20th brought the final communication from Roger. A certified letter from Argentina requiring a signature. The mail carrier later provided an affidavit for Hope's divorce proceedings, describing how her hands trembled as she signed inside. 1 page in Roger's handwriting. Hope. By the time you read this, I will have a new name and a new life. The men looking for me won't find me. You shouldn't try either. I'm sorry about your father's money, But you were the one who said he would never cut you off. We both gambled. We both lost. The prenup your dad made me sign means you don't get anything from me anyway. Consider us even. Mr. Harrison, her store manager, called Charles concerned. Hope hadn't shown up for 3 days. When she returned, she had lost 11 pounds, her eyes sunken. The manager almost fired her. For the first time in Hope Morales' life, she pleaded, literally begged. She kept the job by promising perfect attendance henceforth. May 30th. Eviction day, Hope's new address. A studio apartment above a taco bar in a working-class neighborhood. The same neighborhood she had called dangerous when visiting college friends. 377 square feet. A window air conditioning unit that sounded like dice in a cup. Shared laundry in a basement that smelled of mildew. $1,300 monthly, cash only, no credit check. The second job started on June 1st. Night shift at a coffee shop. 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. The same coffee shop where she had made a scene 2 years ago, demanding to see the manager over cold coffee. Now she served drunk college students and exhausted hospital workers for $14 per hour, plus tips. Her new schedule became robotic. Wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Store from 6 o'clock in the evening to 10 o'clock in the evening. Sleep from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 10 o'clock at night. Coffee shop from 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. Repeat. Sundays off. Spent doing laundry and meal prepping. Rice, beans, the cheapest chicken she could find. Doris visited on June 10th. She called me that night, her voice careful. Hope had hung an article on the water-stained wall of the studio. Our photo from her college graduation. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by discount store basics. 33 pounds thinner, cheekbones sharp as accusations. Her conversation, Doris told me. I helped your father plan this. I know. Are you angry? I was. Now I'm just too tired to be angry. The bond was my idea. An insurance policy for when you hit rock bottom. Is this rock bottom? No. Rock bottom is when you stop blaming everyone else. Hope's admission came slowly, like pulling teeth. I was a terrible daughter. You were a spoiled daughter. Is there a difference? Terrible can't be fixed. Spoiled can be overcome. The holiday weekend arrived with the usual New York heat. Hope worked a double at the store. Time and a half for holiday pay. The coffee shop afterward was full of drunk partygoers. She made $560 in tips in one night. The most cash she had touched since April. The coffee shop security camera captured her at 7:15 in the morning on July 15th. Sitting in her simple car, counting tips, crying. Not the manipulative tears I had seen so often, but something raw. Afterward, she texted Charles that it was the first money she had truly earned. Without manipulation, without a last name, without expectation, just work. Her phone record showed a text written but never sent. Dad, I made $560 tonight all by myself. I know you won't see this. I know I was awful, but I wanted you to know I'm starting to understand. She deleted it, but the phone company records remained. Meanwhile, in Miami, the dry season had begun. I had started teaching Spanish at the local school, volunteer work. The children called me Professor Tony. No one knew about my money. Doris painted terrible seascapes, selling them to tourists for $30, donating the proceeds to the school. We ate dinner together most nights. Simple food, fish, fruit, garlic. Better than any meal at the country club. Charles sent his last update. Hope is working 2 jobs, living in a studio, surviving. My reply, stop monitoring. She needs to do this alone now. July 20th, midnight. Hope started another shift at the coffee shop. the holiday crowd filtering out. She tied on her apron, grabbed her order pad. She walked up to a table of drunk business school students, the kind Roger would have associated with. "Welcome. What can I get for you?" Their loud voice recognized her with shock. Hope. Hope Morales from the country club didn't flinch. "That's me. Now, what can I get for you?" Charles told me afterward that that was the moment, serving coffee to people from her former life. That Hope stopped being my daughter and started becoming herself. August had brought the full heat of summer, and Hope had found her rhythm. Department store customers started asking for her specifically. She had become genuinely helpful instead of judgmental. The night shift nurses at the coffee shop tipped her extra because she remembered their coffee preferences without asking. No sugar for Linda, extra cream for Judy, decaf for Maria, who was pregnant. Her co-worker at the store told Charles that Hope had dropped from a size 12 to a size 6. Not from dieting, from work. Walking miles daily on the store floors, carrying heavy trays all night, eating only what she could afford. Her cheekbones could cut glass, but her eyes had gained something they never had before: awareness. Sundays followed a strict routine. Laundry at 6 o'clock in the morning when the machines were empty. Grocery shopping at the local markets, where produce cost half the price of the expensive stores. Meal prepping in her small kitchen with the one burner that worked. Then, unexpectedly, the library. She had started checking out books on financial literacy, taking notes in a notebook like a college student. September 10th, Tuesday. Hope checked her mail in the apartment building lobby, usually just credit card offers for people with good credit that she no longer had. This time a cream-colored envelope with no return address. Postmark, Miami. She sat on the lobby steps. She couldn't wait to get to her apartment. 3 pages in my careful handwriting. The same handwriting that had signed birthday cards and checks for 34 years. Hope. I am writing this on a beach in Miami. A little girl who reminds me of you at 8 years old is playing nearby. Fearless, curious, demanding the world bend to her will. The difference is, she is also grateful. I do not blame you for becoming who you became. I created you. Every time you cried, I extended a check. Every time you demanded, I complied. I thought I was loving you. In reality, I was training you. Your mother says you are working 2 jobs now. Good work teaches what inheritance never can. That money represents time, effort, sacrifice. Every dollar you earn has a weight my gifts never did. I am not going to return as the man I was. That man was a checkbook with a heartbeat. But I might return to meet the woman you are becoming. The storage key you found was your mother's insistence. She said you would need something to hold on to. The bond matures in April of 2026. By then, you will have learned to live without it. Or you will still be the same person waiting for a bailout. Either way, you will have your answer about who you truly are. I love you. I always have. But love without respect is only pity. Earn my respect, Hope. More importantly, earn your own. P.S. Your grandmother would be proud of you working at the coffee shop. She was a waitress when she met Grandpa. You never knew that. I was too ashamed to tell you. Now I am ashamed I was ever ashamed. Hope carried that letter in her apron pocket the next week. Her co-worker at the coffee shop said she read it on breaks, crying in the restroom, not tears of anger, but something deeper. She started asking her co-workers about their families, their struggles, genuinely listening to the answers. She called Doris about the grandmother revelation. Why did no one tell me about Grandma? You never asked about anyone's struggles, only their successes. What else don't I know? Everything that matters. The transformation showed in her performance review at the store. Hope has become our lead associate. Customers trust her. She relates to people who are saving for special purchases. She understands sacrifice now. They promoted her to department manager. $32.21 per hour, the first promotion she had earned instead of being given. In October, Hope replied after 5 drafts. Doris shared excerpts with me. "Dad, I'm writing this at 3 o'clock in the morning between jobs. My feet hurt, my back hurts. I have never been happier. Not champagne and shopping happy. I earned this sandwich happy. Happy that customers ask for me by name. Happy that I paid my own rent. I was so angry when you left. How dare you abandon me? Now I understand you didn't abandon me. You freed me from myself, from what we had both allowed me to become. Roger is gone. Good riddance. He was my mirror, reflecting my worst qualities. We were parasites feeding on each other's entitlement. When the host disappeared, we had nothing. I don't want your money anymore. Is that not pride? I will need the bond to eventually get a better apartment, but I want it as seed money for the life I'm building, not a bailout from the life I'm living. Come back when you're ready, not to save me, just to see me. The real me, the one that was buried under designer labels and demands. P.S. I kept one thing from my old life, the photo of us at my graduation. You look so proud. I want to earn that look again. The letter reached me on October 15th, a Spanish holiday, appropriate. I read it on the beach while Doris looked over my shoulder. Does she understand it? I asked Doris. Understanding it and living it are 2 different things. Give her time. How much time? How long did it take you to truly change? I'm still changing. Exactly. October 20th, 11 o'clock at night. Hope starting her shift, a regular customer, an older man who always sat alone. He ordered as usual. Tonight, he said something different. You look lighter, dear, unburdened somehow. Hope smiled, a real smile. I'm learning to carry my own weight instead of expecting others to carry it for me. He left a $40 tip on a $14 check. The note read, "For your education fund, a fellow traveler." I decided that night to return in December, not to rescue her, not to test her, just to witness who she was becoming when no one was paying her way. I landed at JFK Airport on December 15th, 2025. The same gate I had departed from in April. 8 months. It felt like 8 years. Doris stayed in Miami. This is your journey to finish, she had said. The rental car was a modest sedan, not the luxury vehicle Tony Morales would have demanded. I drove past my thriving dealerships without me. Good. I drove past Hope's old condo building where a new family occupied her old balcony, their happiness unburdened by debt. I checked into a simple hotel, not the luxury one. Part of my new life. Comfort without excess. I called Charles. I'm here. Does she know? No. I want to see her natural life, not a performance. Department store. She's there until 6 o'clock in the evening. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was at Macy's, watching from across the floor. Hope was kneeling beside an older woman, helping her adjust the fit of a shoe. Patient, kind. The Hope I knew would have delegated that task to another associate. She had changed physically. Thin but strong, moving with purpose instead of entitlement. Her uniform was simple but neat. Hair in a ponytail. No more weekly salon visits. Her makeup-free face was beautiful in a way I had never seen. Honest. At 5:30 in the afternoon, I approached like any customer. Excuse me. I'm looking for comfortable walking shoes. She turned. She froze. Her mouth opened. No words came out. Then quietly, Dad? Hello, Hope. Neither of us moved. 8 months of change suspended between us. Then she laughed. Not bitter or hysterical. She just laughed. You're shopping at the department store. You haven't bought your own clothes in 20 years. Things change. Yes, they do. She couldn't leave the floor, so I stayed as a customer. We talked cautiously as she showed me shoes. You look different, I said. I am different. Poverty is an effective diet plan. It's not poverty, it's reality. Same thing when you're used to fantasy. She rang up the shoes, applying her employee discount without being asked. Pride and small gestures. I get off at 6 o'clock, then the coffee shop at 11 o'clock. Can we have dinner between shifts? I can't afford to eat out. I'll cook. Where do you live? She hesitated, then gave me her address. It's not what you're used to. Me neither. I arrived at 6:30 in the evening. I climbed the stairs to her studio. She had changed out of her uniform into worn jeans and a t-shirt. Both clean but clearly secondhand. The apartment was small, but spotless. One chair, one stool. She gave me the chair. It's not much, she started. It's yours. That makes it everything. On the wall, our graduation photo. On the counter, my letter on a small shelf. Financial planning books from the library. I cooked pasta with the groceries I had brought. Basics, but fresh. She watched me cook, something we hadn't done together since she was 10 years old. Mom says you're teaching in Miami. Volunteer Spanish to local children for free. The best things I've done lately have been free. We ate at her small table with plastic plates and mismatched forks. Better than any dinner at the country club. I hated you, she said suddenly. I know. I mean, I really hated you. I wanted you dead. I know. How could you leave me with nothing? How could I have left you with everything? It was killing you. It was killing us both. Yes. Silence settled. It was uncomfortable, necessary. At 9 o'clock in the evening, she needed to get ready for the coffee shop. I pulled out an envelope. This isn't a bailout. It's an investment. Inside, a check for $10,000 and a contract. What is this? Business proposal. You work for me. Not at the dealerships. New project. Teaching financial literacy to young adults. You know the cost of not knowing. I'm not qualified. You are uniquely qualified. You've been on both sides. Rich without understanding. Poor with an awakening. She read the contract carefully. Fair salary, no special treatment, raises based on performance. This is not charity, this is business. If you fail, you're fired, daughter or not. And if I succeed, then you will have succeeded. At 10:30 in the evening, she had to leave for the coffee shop. She hugged me. The first real hug in years. Not manipulation or performance. Connection. I'll call you tomorrow after I read the contract again. Read it 3 times. That's another lesson. I'm learning. We both are. A month later, Hope accepted the position, but kept her weekends at the coffee shop for 6 months. She wanted a backup plan. Smart. Her first financial literacy workshop had 12 attendees. A year later, she was speaking at universities. 2 years later, she was writing curriculum for school districts. She never touched the bond when it matured. Instead, using it as a down payment for a house. The cash she used came from her own savings. Roger never returned. Word was, he married a wealthy widow in a wine town. The cycle repeating itself. He was no longer our problem. At the 2026 Christmas dinner, Hope hosted in her small new apartment. Doris brought side dishes, I brought wine. We sat around her actual dining table. Hope raised her glass of water. She was working that night. 2 family, 2 lessons learned, Doris added. 2 starting over, I finished. to wealth earned, not inherited. We clinked glasses, appropriate and cheap, perfect imperfection. The fortune I had spent my life building was nothing compared to the wealth in that small room. A daughter's respect earned, not inherited. And the knowledge that sometimes the best gift you can give someone is the chance to save themselves. But our story didn't end that Christmas of 2026. Like all true transformations, this one continued to evolve, surprising us all with its depth. Hope's financial education program grew beyond our most ambitious expectations. By 2027, it had expanded from weekend workshops to a full curriculum. Universities started inviting her not just as a guest lecturer, but as an adjunct professor. Her first book, From Privilege to Purpose, A Guide to Real Financial Literacy, was published in 2028. The dedication made me cry. To my father, who taught me that love sometimes means letting go, and to my mother, who taught me it's never too late to start over. The book became a bestseller, not because of expensive marketing, but because of word-of-mouth recommendation. Readers connected with Hope's brutal honesty about her mistakes. She didn't romanticize her downfall or dramatize her recovery. She simply told the truth about what it costs not to understand money and what it costs to learn it. By 2029, Hope had established the Morales Foundation for Financial Education. Ironically, my money finally went to a good cause, funding free education for low-income families. But this time, Hope managed every dollar with the precision of someone who had learned its value through sweat. The grandchildren, Junior and Marianne, now teenagers, spent summers with us in Miami, not at a luxury resort, but at the simple house Doris and I had bought together. The children learned Spanish from the locals, fished from humble piers, and never knew their grandfather had once been rich. Well, until they were old enough to ask questions. "Grandpa," Junior asked at 16, "why does Mom always check prices twice at the supermarket if you own car dealerships?" Hope and I exchanged a look across the dinner table. The time had come. We told them the whole story that night, not the children's sanitized version, but the complete truth about loss, work, and finding dignity in earning your own way. Marianne, always the most practical, asked, "So, are we poor or rich?" "We are rich in the ways that matter," Hope answered, "and smart enough not to forget it." The children handled the story better than expected. In fact, they felt proud of their mother. Junior started his first job at 17, not because he needed the money, but because he wanted to understand what his mother had learned. Marianne started a blog about teen finance that became surprisingly popular. Charles visited me in Miami in 2030. He had managed our family legally for so many years that he felt more like a brother than a lawyer. "Any regrets?" he asked one night, sitting on the pier watching the sunset. "Not having done it sooner," I replied without hesitation. "Hope is considering running for office," he told me. "Financial literacy at the national level. She asked me to ask you what you thought." "What did you tell her?" "That her father taught her that true power comes from understanding the value of things, not from inheriting the ability to buy them." By 2031, Hope indeed entered politics, not as someone else's privileged wife, but as a recognized expert in financial literacy. Her campaign for state Congress was financed primarily by small donations from people who had taken her classes. Her platform was simple: mandatory financial literacy in all public schools, stronger consumer protection against predatory lending, and transparency in college costs. She won by a large margin. Doris and I attended her swearing-in New York. After the ceremony, Hope found me at the reception. "There's something I need to tell you," she said softly. "The bond I never used. The $90,000 that matured and I saved as a down payment for my house. What about that?" "I donated it all to the foundation, every dollar. I wanted you to know. Why? Because I finally understood the difference between being rich and being enriched. The money I earned enriched me. The money you gave me only made me rich. And rich without understanding is just another word for empty. That night, I called my financial advisor for the first time in 5 years. "George, I need you to do something for me," I said. "Mr. Morales, I want to set up an educational trust. Every dollar I earned at those dealerships, I want it to go to fund free financial education in America. But there are conditions. Tell me, Hope manages everything. Every dollar must be earned through work or merit. No scholarships are given for last names or connections, only for effort and real need. And no one can know it came from me until after my death." "How much money are we talking about?" "Everything. The dealerships, the properties, the investments. Everything except enough for Doris and me to live simply and comfortably until we die." George was silent for a long moment. "Mr. Morales, that is hundreds of millions of dollars, exactly. The money that should have been used to educate from the beginning instead of spoil. The trust was established in secret. Hope never knew until after my death in 2034 that all her work had been financed by the man whose money she once despised.